You're listening to Pointing Pointers, the Point to Point podcast. Hello and welcome. A huge welcome back to Pointing Pointers, the only point to point podcast. I'm Ben Atkins, and the chap across from me that you can now see as well as hear is a wonderful Sam Davies Thomas. Sam, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Ben. I thought I had the face for radio, to be honest. So I'm a bit concerned about this now, but we'll give it a go anyway. We might have more followers, we might have less.
Well, this is it, and more of that in a second. But Sam, one thing we did manage to do in the summer was actually meet up. We met in real life, which was nice, I suppose. But what we didn't manage to do was what we promised our dear listeners over the summer, and it was a summer special. And I think you should apologise for that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're the leader, remember? And I was nagging you, and you were too busy with your stud, with your big festival, all that. And yeah, you just forgot about me, didn't you?
Yes. So it's a new season and a new format. And for those of you listening to us, as I alluded to a moment ago, you can now also see us on YouTube. Just by searching Pointing Pointers, and you can watch along. So if you're listening in the car and you fancy seeing what Sam really looks like, then I recommend you continue listening on Spotify. No, but seriously, we want to attract more people into this wonderful sport of ours, and we felt that YouTube was a good way to do that. It gave us a better chance, particularly with the young whippersnappers coming through. Obviously, me and Sam are ancient now, but we need to attract the new blood coming through. Also new is that we have some support for the season from the PBORA, for which we are very grateful. This is our fourth season, believe it or not, doing this. And as much as the only cost is time, it does take a fair bit of it, and we want to grow our fan base. So having a bit of backing will enable us to do that. So yeah, thank you very much to the PBORA.
By the end of the season, I reckon you'll have mastered that, mate.
Yeah, I know. And do you know what? 4 seasons in, I still can't say it. I've been getting it wrong most of the time, which isn't great for a headline partner. So thank you very much once again to the PBORA. At this point, Sam, we ought to warn people not to conflate this with your seemingly new lush, lavish lifestyle that we've been bragging about on Instagram. I'm guessing the two things are unrelated. I'm hoping you've been hacked.
Unfortunately, I have. It's nothing to do with anything that I've done myself, apart from just let people into my account, and it's really upset me, to be honest. But yeah, no more Instagram for Sam. What am I going to do?
You look really upset about it.
I am actually. That hit me hard, actually, but we'll get over it.
I promise we will get to something related to pointing in a moment. But one more thing I wanted to mention, if I may, Red Mills /Foran, who are sister companies who make some brilliant supplements, have also kindly agreed to sponsor us for the season. I'm really looking forward to speaking to some of the team in due course and picking their brains, and hopefully doing some sections on feed in the pod, which would be great. I'm a bit of a feed geek, and I love Red Mills. So I've been feeding it for ages, and it's
I can know you're a bit. Sorry to interrupt you. I know you're a bit of a feed geek. I saw your horse at Umberley. You feed him quite a lot, didn't you? That was his fifth run. It was just quite large. So yeah, maybe we should take some advice off Red Mills and cut back the feed slightly. Maybe it might help.
So, right then, to business. So, Sam, we have the first point-to-point of the season this weekend, and entries have just gone live on the new website, we should say, which is very exciting. But I noticed that the first race of the season was a young horse maiden. Anything you want to get off your chest before we get rolling onto other things?
Yeah, actually, it's not a bad entry for the first meeting. It's early on in the year for everyone. It's taking a bit of getting used to, I suppose. But it's not, 10 entries in the young horse maiden, which is great. Gives a early chance for some of them 4 or 5 year olds that didn't make the track at the end of last year to have a good go at this year. Yeah, so some of the prominent yards have got entries, so hopefully a few of them will line up and we can have a competitive race to kick it off. And yeah, across the board, really, 8s, 9s, 12s. It's not too bad at all. The Open's quite interesting. We've got Ed and Tim Vaughan. They're going to have a good go at this year. Tim's got, I think, about 20 horses out here for Ed to get going. He had his first ride at Cheltenham last week. Gave it a nice ride from the front. So yeah, they got Polly Roy and Alan Hill got Norman and North in the mixed open. So yeah, it looks competitive racing, and hopefully we can get some turn up and have a good go of it for Dunsmore.
And I noticed there's also a race for grassroots riders, which I thought was brilliant. And we're actually going to speak to one of those now. I caught up earlier, Sam, with Janie Lee, who is a 16-year-old who had her first ride at Umberley in June. And it's her first full season riding this year. And we thought it'd be good to have a word with her. So we can listen to that now. Janielee Edworthy, thanks for agreeing to come on the show. We're looking forward to following your journey into pointing. And you had your first ride at Umberley in June, and this is your first full season as a proper amateur, something the sport needs more of: training, owning and riding your own two horses, and of course hoping to take some outside rides. Can you tell us a little bit about what your hopes are for the season and your passion for the game?
I'm just looking forward to getting going again this season. I mean, I literally scraped into Umberley because my birthday was the day before, but I'd love to just have more rides. I mean, having my first winner would be a dream, especially if it were on one of my own horses that I've trained and that I own. That would just be perfect. I mean, that would literally be a dream come true. And racing, I feel like there's not a feeling like it, the adrenaline that comes from it when you're galloping towards that first fence with everyone. And it's just, if you're on a good horse and you trust your horse, it's an incredible feeling.
Well, we wish you all the best with this season, and good on you for getting going so young. What do you think can be done by the sport to get more people who have literally just turned 16 into owning, riding and training horses? Obviously, it's prohibitive for quite a lot of people to have horses that they own themselves. But what can be done to get more people riding earlier on, do you think?
I think, like how for pony racing, there's a lot of public events like what Roddy Green runs at Pontypool and things like that. I think it would be good to kind of see more of that, but focusing a bit more on the pointing side, so that people like around my age can they can get an insight into pointing, and people my age can go and say how fun it is and just how exhilarating it all is, and just for them to see how kind everyone is and how welcoming everyone is, because I feel like a lot of people that have been from eventing backgrounds go into racing, but I feel like it's quite a big step sometimes, because I was going to go into eventing, but then I decided that I would rather go into racing, and it's always quite scary for that big change. But I think people just need to know that it's not scary, and it's a really fun atmosphere, and everyone's really welcoming. I think that was what I was most scared of.
So, Sam, it's really good to hear from a young rider who's clearly passionate about the game. What did you make of all that?
Yeah, it's great to have someone, as you say, that wants to drive and push the sport forward. And what we need to do is people like her, we need to use her correctly and get her to promote the sport. And she knows exactly what she wants to get from the sport. So we've got to get her out there and get her encouraging younger people her age. For her to be training, owning and riding two horses is great. And I wish her, her dream, as everyone's dream is when they get going, is to have their first winner. So hopefully she can have that this year, and she can she can help us push the sport forward.
From a rider starting out to a multiple champion, I believe you've had a word with our pal Jack Andrews.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I thought there's no better way to start than follow up after his win at Cheltenham on Friday, which was great for Ben Paulin, who's a great supporter of Point to Points. And yeah, you can have a listen to our chat here now.
Delighted now to be joined by one of the podcast's best friends, Jack Andrews. Jack, how's your summer been?
Yeah, all good, thanks, Sam. Had a busy summer, breaking in a lot of 3-year-olds, and we've got all the main horses back in now, so we're ready for the new season.
I can't believe how quickly it's come round, and obviously you started the season off with a flying start on Friday at Cheltenham, having a winner in the amateur race for Ben Paulin. It's great to give a bit back to Ben. He's a great supporter of British Point to Pointing, and it was great to win on Mole Court.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like yesterday we were all at Umberley, but no, it's the new season's come around quick, and no, had a great start winning the amateur race for Ben, and yeah, he's been very supportive of our yard, especially. He's brought a lot of our ex-inmates and taken them to the under rules stage of things, and no, it was great that I could give him a winner, and a special winner at that. So
Yeah, no, it was quite emotional after the race. It was really nice to see. It's what National Hunt horses can do to boost people's emotions and kind of, you know, help people out when they need it most. What have you been up to during the summer? You've been busy at the yard still?
Yeah, not left the yard. Managed to get away for a holiday, but no, broken in around 24 3-year-olds, and the majority of them to stay here to run next season, but a few to go elsewhere. One for actually Ben Pauling and Stuart, and one for Stuart Edmonds. But yeah, just been busy with that all summer really.
Perfect. How's the weight?
Weight's very good. Yeah, worked hard at it the last month since I come back from holiday, and yeah, it's back to where I was last year. So no, good again.
You're still growing. You got any taller?
I bloody hope not.
And then finally, give our listeners a couple of horses to follow throughout the season from the yard.
Yeah, I suppose we got form horses wise. We bought a horse off Simon Munir and Isaac Swade called Artistane. He was rated 109. He's still a maiden, only 5 years old by no risk at all. He should go through the grades very easily, and then when he gets to open stages, he might find it tough, but he should get there. And then one from last year, maybe I'm Spellbound. He progressed very well last year, winning a maiden at Garthorpe, and then progressed to win an intermediate at Kingston Blount on his last start. He remained unbeaten when he stood on all 4 feet. So he looks one to progress again this year, and maybe an early season one. We have a lovely 4-year-old filly by Sande Sant who's going to hopefully go to the Mares Maiden at Fosslas for her debut. She's doing everything right, so she looks exciting.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. See, we're starting nice and early now, so Dunsmore at the weekend. Have you got many rides there?
Probably not many rides. We're going to bring one horse down, all being well, a Geordieland 4-year-old. He was in last year, did plenty. Again, he does everything right at home, can't do any more. So, no, look forward to get started with him next Sunday.
Good to hear from Jack, and wish him all the best for the season. It'd be really interesting to see what happens this year, actually, because obviously I watched James King give a horse a unbelievable ride under rules to not quite go the other day. You've got James, Will, and Jack, who, you know, are all more than capable with the right ammunition of being the champion. So it'd be interesting to see. And of course, you never know who's going to spring a surprise as well. So interesting to see how that competition shapes up this year. I suppose Gina will win the ladies' championship. Will she? So
probably. Get boring now, isn't it?
Yeah, come on, ladies. So sadly, Nightwick is called off on the 11th of November due to a waterlogged course. But as it stands, Badbury Rings will run on Sunday, the 12th of November, as planned. I'm going, Sam, actually. Do you fancy a trip down? What I was thinking was, you can put me up on the Saturday night. I'll drive down to you. You can put me up Saturday night. Couple of jars, wherever you live. Don't know, actually. Where do you live?
Yeah, that's bad, isn't it? I can't disclose that information on this. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, fair enough. It's public safety risk. I realise that.
My house would be flooded with people banging on the door.
Well, yeah, that is true. Yeah, if it's flooded currently, it doesn't give me much of a clue because most of the UK is underwater, sadly. But anyway, I'll come down to you, and we'll go down to Devon. We're running that Chief Hopper horse at Badbury Rings, and it should be a right hoot. So I will be there. So at the start of the season, I thought we'd best check in with the man at the wheel, so to speak. And I had a word with the CEO of the PPA, Peter Wright, and you can hear the first section of that right here. Peter Wright, there's very few guests that need no introduction on this niche little podcast of ours, but everyone knows who you are, for better or worse, you could say. Peter, how you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. Well, it's been a good off-season. I've even managed this year for the first time for some years to get away, which is good.
Wow.
Been off around France. I actually went to Poland to watch one of these cross-country races. Fascinating.
So we're only a couple of weeks away from the start of the pointing season as we record, which is very exciting. I've just been looking at fixtures on the new website. Speaking of which, an all-new website for the season. Can you talk us through that a bit?
Yeah, it's been a dream of mine, frankly, almost since I arrived. It became apparent through no fault of anyone's. So the current website was built for admin, and then has been all things to all men. Well, obviously, nothing can do that. And although it's very well built, it's very inflexible. It needs special people who know what they're doing to rewrite JavaScript, etc., etc. and that takes a long time and it costs quite a lot of money. So it's not flexible, and the world's moving on quite quickly. I was also very aware of the need for officials to be able to get hold of paperwork more easily. And finally, and most importantly, I think the current website was not good. It's very good for aficionados once you know your way around the website, but for passing traffic, when we're trying to spread our demographics, get more owners into the game and so on, complex. Whilst I'm hoping the new website, once it's finished, it's not finished, but I think Jake's done a really great job getting it up. With a bit of luck, it'll be really easy for passing traffic and it'll bring in new demographics, and that's what we're after.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, I'm sure it'll be stress tested over the season, so to speak, but it certainly looks good on from the outset. So they're great stuff. So Peter, it won't escape many people's attention that you are leaving your post as the chief executive of the PPA at the end of this season. As you need to give a nice bit of notice. Has there been any interest in the CEO job just yet?
Yeah, there's a few people been asking me about it. As you're probably aware, we're in the midst of changing the chair as well. And it's felt that we need to change the chair because whoever's on chair will obviously have a bit of input into what they want as a CEO, depending on how hands-on they're going to be. So we haven't done anything about putting it out as a job yet, but there are feelers out there in both ways, actually. So I'm pleased with some of the interest shown. Very hopeful.
And for anyone that's listening that thinks they might throw their hat into the ring, what kind of person are you looking for? I've got a friend called Sam Davies Thomas that might be interested, you see.
Well, I think it'd be excellent for Sam to give it a crack.
It's been 6 months since he started his last job, so he's up for a new challenge. No, but seriously, what kind of person are you looking for?
First of all, no one should be afraid of it. It's a great job, great fun. Pretty well everyone's friendly. Even when they're cross with me, they're pretty polite about it. So, and that can't be said in many industries and jobs. So that's terrific stuff. And I've had a ball. I really have. Really enjoyed it. What am I looking for? An enthusiast. Because actually you need to get around, which means your weekends are spent traveling.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to travel quite as much as me. My biggest year was over 50 fixtures, but last year was, I think, reasonable, and that was about 37. So, which means you get more than a third of all the fixtures in every area if you're doing that. And that's great. So, I mean, I think that's the sort of targets. You've got to be enthusiastic. You certainly, I think you can develop your knowledge, but it's useful if you have a good knowledge and understanding, not only of pointing, but racing in general. And perhaps a little bit about the people who are involved, because it's a volunteer sport. So you're going to have to be diplomatic. You've got to be accept that it's difficult sometimes to understand why people are coming from some directions. And so you've got to be open to new ideas, but equally understand the sensitivities of others who are perhaps not so open, and work out how to balance it. And that can take a bit of working. And of course, I fail miserably. As time goes on, I'll fail more, to be honest, because that's how it always works in these jobs.
What are you most proud of in your tenure?
Yeah, I think there's quite a few different things. Funnily enough, actually, the thing that I'll really be proud of, which is difficult to explain really, but it's really I've completely streamlined and rebuilt the foundations of things behind the scenes, which no one can see at all. But actually, through no one's fault, there was quite a lot that needed to be reorganized. And it's a lot quicker. Decision-making is a lot quicker. The timeline we put in place is a lot better now, which allows sense to be made in timely fashion, to which everyone can now react. And I think that's, sorry, I'm about to get attacked. No, that's better. So that's, I think, proud. Funnily enough, an odd one, which Andrew Merriam, the chair, and I are both pleased with, is that the average age of the board, we've managed to bring down a good 10 years now. So we've now got very much people who are in the sport.
That's great.
Rather than looking over it. And it's also spread across the country. And the board, contrary to popular opinion, Peter Wright does not run loose. The board does have quite a lot of input into where I should be heading and so on and so forth. So in that sense, that's also another pleasing thing. Yeah, actually, I suppose the other thing is that when I arrived, there was a lot of irritation, including from myself, I might add, about young horse Ferraris riding all over our progressive horses, which didn't help. We've now managed to, and on top of that, the ex-national hunt horses being a bit of a mess as well. We've actually managed to get all three groups are now more or less broken apart, and therefore they can all develop at their own speed. I mean, the last bit of this was the restricted race change this year. But I am pleased with that. And actually, I know people get cross because they see some horse rated 140 coming down. Most of the horses rated 140 coming down are already at 120 of that, because that's the point. Actually, it's the better progressives coming through that are more of a problem, as it turns out, if you look at the stats and who wins races easily.
So it sounds like you've built a great platform for someone else to come in and build on. And like you say, much of that work in the background, perhaps, but there's definitely obviously been some good things front of house. I'm sure lots of people are grateful for. What do you think should be the focus for pointing into the future?
Weirdly, I think the focus should be there shouldn't be a focus. Because actually, for the sport to survive, it needs to be a broad church. And it needs to allow people to bring the young horses through. At the moment, last year, there were 384 and 5-year-olds. We want to get that up to 500. But I don't want it to be like the Irish side of the sport, where it's taken over everything. It's just a nursery for national hunt. That's great. And actually, if we can encourage it, it reduces pressure on the other races, because other horses and other races can then go and fewer of them. See what I mean? So that should work. And I suspect what we'll have is different courses catering a bit more for different types of horses as well. But no, I want to see the progressives. That's where my real love of pointing is, and so I want them to continue and be able to go through the ranks. I want the young horses to work properly, and equally, I actually like the ex-national hunt horses. We don't have half-broke horses with half-broke riders on top anymore. We now have schoolmasters for our jocks, and the result is, the insurance for those jockeys came back 30% 3 years ago. No one's asked to put it up. In fact, we got a rebate this year because there were less accidents than expected. So, actually, this is really quite good. I'm really pleased about this sort of stuff.
So, Sam, just a little interlude here to gather your thoughts so far. Some interesting points there. And he said just before we finished that clip that we don't have half-broke horses and half-broke jockeys on top anymore. Do you think he was perhaps referring to you at the peak of your powers?
Probably, mate. Yeah, I wasn't really half-broke. I just wasn't much good, let's be honest.
They're mainly half-broke when you got off by all accounts.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, probably half-broke before I even got on. They just saw me in the paddock and that was it. But no, I've had some good horses, and every horse is there to take its chance, and it's nice that we've got some good up and coming lads and some horses coming down through the ranks, which is great.
Yeah, so I thought that was an interesting point he made about horses coming back through the grades, not necessarily being unbeatable. And I was reminded of a conversation with Stephanie Jones, who is obviously associated with Kaylee Woolacott's yard and Josh Newman, etc., and that team. And there's a horse there, Paloma Blue, that was rated 153, I believe, in Ireland, and has come back over here and is around that sort of 138 mark. Maybe people get upset about these racing post ratings, etc., but you could perhaps say 128 would more honestly reflect his current level of ability. And he's won plenty of races this season, but he hasn't been unbeatable. So it kind of, it's a good illustration of the point that Peter's making, really.
Yeah, exactly. People need to just take them on. There's chances there to be had. These horses they're running in point to point for a reason, because they're not up to the level they once were. And these horses that come into the rules, they need confidence. It takes time for them to get going. When they get that confidence, yes, they can go up and they can win races. Look at Blue. Obviously, he got beat, but he went on and won at Cheltenham, but he did get beat. And yeah, there's plenty of horses like that come down the grade just because they're simply not as good as they were. And people shouldn't be irate about that. We need to welcome horses from all angles, as Peter said, and create an opportunity for everyone in our sport, not just one hit wonders, and it's going. Hopefully, it's going that way. And Peter, unfortunately, leaving us is sad. I think he's done a really good job. It's a job that I'd say no one would want to do, and it's one I definitely won't be doing. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's good to have Peter on board. It's good to have another fresh blood coming in to take over. Fresh ideas and to push our sport forward in times that we probably need it most.
Yeah, well, it's very good of you to throw your hat in the ring. So let's listen to the rest of that interview with Peter now. Do you believe there should be a stronger working relationship between the National Hunt under rules bodies and pointing as a whole? It feels to me that it could perhaps be a little bit more joined up.
It's interesting. It's probably more joined up than people realise. In fact, in practical terms, a lot of my time is spent working with BHA, elements of BHA, and Weatherby's to see what we can practically do. Our horses now move between the disciplines quite a lot more than people realise. It's not a case of at the beginning of their career and at the end, horses are zipping backwards and forwards during their career. So all of that's got to be recognised. On the other hand, it's an amateur sport and we've got to remember our roots. And I certainly don't want to lose that ethos. If you like, we have this really odd situation where in some ways the top jockeys and the top trainers, most of the trainers, in fact, are very professional. Like, I would say our top trainers are just as good, frankly, as the National Hunt trainers. They might not have quite the facilities, some do, but some don't, but they're just as good. So those are professionals. There's no doubt about that. And then some of our jockeys are oversized professionals, really. But the vast majority are not. And those have got to have a fair go at it as well. And what I wouldn't like is for us to come third tier racing and they don't get that opportunity. So, it's that balance and trying to keep it together. It's the issue.
And so more broadly, how are you feeling about pointing's future?
I think it'll see me out. And I feel like my family has a good few years in the bank normally. Andrew Merriam puts it very well when people are getting very down in the mouth to him. He says, look, if you started a sport and said you've got 1,600 horses and 130 odd fixtures, you'd be pretty pleased about life. And that's true. And don't get me wrong, I don't like the numbers going down. COVID didn't do us any favours. I had hoped to be bottoming things out when COVID struck. Let's hope no more crises. I'm fed up with crises in my time. We think there's less than 150 horses now with the owner trainers who aren't supporting their own jockey. And most of those are real enthusiasts, the Stan Rawlins, the Robert Whaley-Cohens of this world, who, they will be the last people out of pointing. So actually, the people we've been losing are the owner trainers, frankly, which is very sad. And that's partly to do with the progressive races. But we need to give them more opportunity. But actually, there aren't that many more left to lose. Truth be known, the owners have held up pretty well. Who've got horses with trainers, they've held up. So actually, there's reasons to believe that we can bottom it out, and then hopefully Jake's got a whole lot of ideas about how to build up again. And we've got a lot of those. There's no silver bullet out there, and this isn't just us. This is a wider issue.
And finally, Peter, what are you looking forward to for this season?
Oh, I'm looking forward to a quiet season. That's what I'm looking forward to. I think we deserve a quiet season. There's been not too much buggering about. And between, bad weather followed by equine flu hit me within 3 months of my arrival. And from then on, it's never really stopped between COVID. But it would be nice. Actually, we just had a straightforward season without losing too many fixtures. I think we could have some very good racing. April's a bit thin. You might even see divided races in April.
Well, wouldn't that be something? So Peter, I suppose you could say you've been a leader for crisis times. So the big question remains: if you've got a quiet year, are you going to put it to good use, or are you going to swan round and do a lap of honour, or are you going to keep putting the sword to the grindstone?
What a splendid idea. I like the idea of a lap of honour. And the one thing I am looking forward to this season, funnily enough, is providing we want them on, is if Down and Tranmere are on, that will complete my full set, which will be great.
I see.
But there's 6 other courses I've been to before I took on this job, which I haven't managed to get to this time, and I hope to get to 5 of them. No, we've still got plenty to do. There are issues out there. To be honest, we've bottomed out most things. Clearly at the moment, horse welfare and frankly the social license are big issues, and we have to understand those and get them understood by everyone. The IT, which is not my favourite issue at all, the IT moving forward is probably going to keep me quite busy enough, thank you very much. And yeah, I remember this is a small office. It would be quite nice to have the odd half day off during the season rather than 7 days a week. But hey, who knows? Will it happen? No, I doubt it.
It's one of those jobs, as you know, I'm in the mastership of Hunt down here, and it's one of those jobs which is a thankless task, and I'm familiar with that, but you are definitely in that same position. So yeah, listen, Peter, thanks a lot for your time. Best of luck for this final season of yours, and I'm sure that won't be you swanning off to the Bahamas and never being seen on course again. I'm sure that you'll remain a big fan of the sport, whatever you do.
Absolutely. I'm sure I'll end up being engaged one way or the other in some aspect of it, not least as perhaps an owner, which I felt was not appropriate whilst I was doing the job. So
well, that's exciting.
Great to chat, and many thanks, Ben, for doing these. I think, and I get a lot of feedback about the podcast. Lots of people like them. And quite a lot, I think, listeners are going to the course each weekend. So
that's good to know.
So please do keep going on them. I think they're really good fun. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Peter. Sam, enjoyable to speak to Peter. Like you say, it's hard not to. It's hard. It's very easy to criticize people in that position, and it's hard not to have some respect for what he has managed to do, or at least the job he's done in steadying the ship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as I say, people can knock some of the ideas he's had, but I honestly think he's pushed it forward in the right direction at times that were probably really quite tricky. But yeah, he's done a great job, and I'm sure he'll continue to do a great job this year, and he'll support whoever takes on his ship.
So I think that just about concludes a snappy enough episode. The first YouTube episode of Pointing Pointers. Quite strange though it is to be publishing this. I hope some of you enjoyed it on YouTube as well as in other formats. What we're going to be doing this time is recording 30-minute episodes every other week. And so, yeah, thank you again to the PPRA for partnering with us this year, and to Red Mills and Forehand for their sponsorship as well. Much appreciated. Sam, anything you want to talk about before we call it to a close, or are we all good?
No, just I think we've got a good few bi-weekly opportunities to talk to different sorts of people from Red Mills. Obviously, try and catch up with Charlie Post. He's obviously a very, very busy man now. Very busy man. He's got lots of different posts. So I like that one. That's a good pun. I like that.
Yeah, it's a shame really, because I texted him and said, "Congrats on the new post," spelled with an E, and then saw, which is like the most Alan Partridge crap pun ever. And then I saw that the point to point UK had gone with the same strap line. I thought,
it was good. I liked it. They owned it, to be fair, so they can keep that one. They've got that one in there first. But no, it's great. We've got a good lineup, and hopefully we can get some interesting guests on and keep everyone entertained throughout the season. Hopefully everyone can listen, and they can just enjoy what we enjoy doing, and just getting some information out to people and getting more people interested.
Absolutely. Oh, just to clarify one thing before we go, Sam. You may remember on the last episode of last year, I was accused of wearing lipstick on the Zoom call. Now, little did I know, having conducted hundreds of Zoom calls last year, I did actually realise over the summer that I had a setting on which was putting a very sort of light purple lipstick as a filter over my lips. So Biddick and co were exactly correct that I did in fact have lipstick on when we did.
That was one of our best episodes. I think you should probably put it back on.
Yeah, caused much hilarity, and maybe we can try some filters as the week go past. Anyway, enough of us rambling. Thanks a lot for listening. This has been Pointing Pointers, and we'll catch you again in 2 weeks' time.
Good night.